make sure my phone's down. Is yours?
It is. We're good.
All right, good. Jamie Winchester.
Hey, everybody.
This is exciting.
It's exciting and nervous.
You asked me right before, is everybody nervous before they do this? And yes.
Yes.
Everybody
yes.
kind of is.
Yes. I don't know what it is. We talk to people every single day, but something like this makes us nervous.
That's weird.
Go figure.
An industry of extroverts.
Right?
Which is one of the reasons I remember, well, for one, when I had the idea to start doing a real estate podcast, one of the first people I talked to was Adam.
Yes.
Adam Bugos, who was
Yeah.
my very first guest.
Yes.
And he was like, yeah, do it. Also, I want to do podcasts. And he's doing his own thing now too. And,
Right.
And he's doing a great job. But I also talked to my wife. And she's like, well, that's a great idea. I said, I could have a different realtor on every week. And we
Right.
can she's like, well, they're the perfect people to do it because they're already used to talking.
Yeah.
So here we are. But then when we get in here and microphones and headphones and a camera and some lights, everybody's like, oh God. But I think you're going to do great.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And I asked you, originally I was recording in the other building and I saw you in the hallway. I was like setting up.
Yes.
And I was like, you want to come on sometime? Zero resistance. You said, you're like, sure.
Why not?
It's so many people are like, I don't know.
I know. And now that time has come. And here we are.
Well, I do appreciate you joining me. So let's, you've listened to some of the episodes before and I told you before we went on, I think this is like episode 19 or 20. So
That's awesome.
it has been really cool and
Yeah.
a lot of fun. And I've run the gamut. I've relatively new agents with decades of experience,
Yeah.
managing brokers, team members, solo acts, and a couple of team leads, which
Yes.
is what you are.
Yep, that's correct.
So I'm excited to kind of get your perspective on things, but you know how this goes. So tell us how you got into the business.
Okay, so I was in banking for 8 years prior to getting into real estate.
Really?
I actually worked at Illini Bank,
Okay.
and I worked there from 1990 through 1998, and I always had a desire into getting into real estate. And at the time, I talked to my husband. I was super nervous because I did work at a bank, and I got that bi-weekly paycheck.
Yeah.
So it's scary going into something that you never know when you're going to get a paycheck.
Yes.
So that was very nerve-wracking to do, but he was very supportive, and we took the plunge. Initially, I had interviewed with a couple realtors. I was unlicensed at the time, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll see if I like it and be an admin person, and interviewed with Jim Shea.
Really?
And I also interviewed with Brenda Taylor, and neither of them hired me.
What?
They did not.
Wow.
No, they didn't. They
What
didn't.
a catastrophic error that was.
Then I thought, well, maybe I'll go ahead and get my license and do it on my own.
So you were in banking. So were you in like the mortgage industry?
No,
Really?
I wasn't in the mortgage. When I left Line A Bank, I was actually in human resources at the time. So
I was trying to connect, like, okay, if you were working maybe mortgage department, then that would make sense as to why you would be interested in real
Yeah.
estate. But no. So what was it about real estate? What?
you know what? I've always just enjoyed. It's funny because even before I got into real estate, I would be one of those people that would visit open houses just because I love touring houses. I just always loved to do it. And
Sure.
so I thought, why not give it a shot? We actually ended up buying some properties. We thought, maybe we want to be flippers. So we bought a couple flip properties and thinking that we knew what the hell we were doing. Am I allowed to say that?
You can say whatever you want. We are not regulated by the FCC. Just the Mike Busher.
Okay. All right. Very good. So no, I actually went through Barb Kruger, got my real estate license, and then interviewed with Pat Grady at the time. And it's funny because, of course, I met Pat Grady through an open house of his. And he says, well, let's just do lunch someday. And I said, oh, okay, great. And then he was going to pick me up at my employer at the time, Illini Bank, and he did not show. And I thought, well, maybe real estate is not supposed to be for me. So
stood up by Pat Grady.
I got stood up by Pat Grady. I always gave him shit about that. But it took a couple days, and then he realized that what he'd done and called me, and we got connected at that time. So anyway, and then shortly thereafter, I started at Grady Realtors.
So I would love to say that in my, I guess, going on 12 years in this business, that I have never missed an appointment, that I had never had something in my calendar or that I forgot to put in my calendar. But I think that happens to all of us. I hope that happens to all of us.
It does.
I just, all of a sudden, I get a phone call or a text that says, hey, are you coming? And yeah, give me approximately 15 minutes because I'm going to go 100 miles an hour and get there. My fault.
That's a bad feeling. I have done that probably, I would say less than 5 times, but I have done it.
Same.
I think everybody has.
But,
so,
oh my gosh.
yeah.
That's like stomach just drops. Like, oh no, I had an appointment.
Well,
oh no.
Think about it. When a lot of times you're in your car and you're driving and you're talking to people on the phone and you schedule appointments and you think, okay, later on I'm going to put that in my calendar, and then you totally forget.
Yes.
And then they remind you saying, where are you?
Thankfully, that hasn't cost me any clients.
Yes.
You know, everybody has been very understanding and forgiving, and I have been deeply apologetic when that happens.
Yeah.
Let's get you just
sorry
a
about that.
little bit. No, you're fine. You're fine. Just a little bit.
Yes.
But I'm glad that
Closer
you're
to the
comfortable. Okay. So you just had a general interest in real estate from going through houses, which is kind of similar to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were trying to sell our house, but it was when we were looking for new houses is kind of when I got bit by the bug. Like, oh, this is so cool. And then I started noticing, you know, the difference in the building and the areas and the prices and markets, because it was like a 2-year experience for us.
Yeah.
And so I really got to
It was fun. I bought my first house in 1996. Were you born then?
Are you kidding me? I mean, I was a junior in high school, but I was born. I'm 44.
44. Okay. In 1996, I bought my first house, and it was a fun experience.
Yeah.
I thought, what a fun job that would be. So.
Yeah, and so did it. Not what you were expecting, I'd imagine, which is normal, right? Like,
right.
What a fun job you think it would be, and then you get into it, and it is. It is a very fun and a very rewarding job. However, it is not what you think it is.
That's true.
When you're going through houses or when you're buying your first house.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I could do this. I think I could do this. It'd be great. And it is great.
Yes.
But it's not great because of why we thought it's great.
Exactly. That's true.
I still love going through houses.
I do too. And it's funny because now that we've been in the business for a long time, you see houses that you had seen maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So I remember showing that house when it was on the market before.
Yes.
So
I've had where gone through a house with a set of clients, like made an offer, didn't get it, whatever, and then it hits the market again years later, and I bring different clients through, and we do get it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's fun.
Or when you go through, like sometimes I don't even realize. I'll schedule a showing, and I'll walk into a house, and I'm looking around like, I've been here.
Yeah.
And then I'm racking my brain, and I have to get out my email and type in the address and see my showing confirmation from like 2016. I'm like, I knew it. I knew I'd been here before. I guess there's only so many houses in this town.
That is true. I'll never forget the time where one of the properties I had bought years ago and sold it to somebody that was actually renting from me at the time. And then it went back on the market. Had no idea that was the same house until I physically walked in. I was like, oh my gosh, I used to own this house.
Wow. So one that you actually used to own. I used to own.
Yeah, only for a couple of years. And then the tenant ended up buying it, but totally forgot.
Well, that's all right.
Yep.
I guess that's okay. All right. So you ended up going to lunch with Pat Grady then?
It actually did happen? I did. Yes. I went to lunch with Pat Grady. If anybody knows Pat Grady, he was an amazing man. So he was fun to work with. All the Gradys were fun to work with. And
I never really got the pleasure of getting to know Pat at all.
Yeah. Good man. Yep. Good leader, good instructor, good teacher. and funny.
I'm sure. I'm sure he was.
He was. We used to have a lot of fun. I actually worked for Grady's for 5 years.
Okay, so that came next then, right? So you go to lunch with Pat. It goes well.
Yep.
Then you get licensed.
Yeah. So 1998, I got licensed. 1998 was a big year because I got licensed.
I graduated high school that year. It was a shock to many, but I did.
Yep. I'm showing my age. I was 27 when I got licensed, and August of 1998, I started at Grady Realtors, and then I got married that same year, and then had 2 children while I worked at Grady's in a 5-year span. So a lot. Yeah.
Yikes. All right. Yeah, that is a lot.
Yes.
And so, all right, so you were at Grady's, and then how did you land here at the real estate group?
So Grady's.
Or was there another stop?
There was another stop.
Okay.
I actually ended up going to Remax and worked for Remax for 10 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was approached by the managing broker, Ron Duff, at the time, and I was pregnant with my second child at the time, and he says, "Are you related to the Grady's?" I said, "No." He says, "I'd love to do lunch with you sometime." And I said, I have no interest. I was pregnant.
Sure.
I loved working for the Grady's at the time. They were, wonderful people. Then I had my daughter and was on maternity leave for a little bit, and then came back, and then Ron approached me again. He said, "Let's just have coffee." So, and of course, at that time, when you think about it in 2002, it's funny how real estate companies shift a little bit. That was the company to work for. Remax was. So I thought about it, talked it over with my husband, and we decided to make the plunge of going to Remax, and I worked for Remax for 10 years. And then that was even scary because Grady's were very generous with respect to as far as expenses. Every company's a little bit different.
Yes.
The nice thing at Grady's, it was wonderful starting out because I didn't have expenses working at Grady's. They just basically took a cut of what I made, but if I wasn't making anything, I wasn't paying anything either. Where, most companies...
That's not how
you
it goes.
have monthly costs associated with working at that particular
Money's going
company.
out whether it's coming in or not.
Yeah, so it was like starting all over again when I started at Remax, and I was super nervous.
But at that point, you'd been in the business for a few years.
Yes.
So you had...
Yep.
You already had like business going. So
Yeah.
you weren't just getting started trying to find those clients, and
Right.
so you had that.
I did have that. So when I left Grady's, I remember I was probably producing about $5 to $6 million at that time in real estate, and I thought, I think I could do this, but it was still scary at the time. So especially when you had a monthly bill that you still had to pay. I don't know if everybody that's probably listening understands how that works.
Yes.
So
at least the realtors, and then the people wanting to get into the business, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to make this podcast, is for people that just have a general interest.
Yes.
There are monthly expenses.
There are monthly expenses.
To being a realtor. It's not just you go sell a bunch of houses and pocket all the money.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work like that. So that was scary. I mean, at the time, it was, you think about it, having 2 kids in daycare and having a mortgage payment and just going into real estate and never knowing when you're going to get a paycheck. So it is scary, but rewarding.
It's still scary.
It's still scary.
It doesn't matter.
Our market's constantly changing.
How long I do this, it will always terrify me doing this.
Yes.
Weird.
I feel like every year is like, what is this year going to bring? It's
Yes.
like you're unemployed and then January 1 and you're starting all over again.
I hate that. It's like an inner panic that starts at like, why isn't my phone ringing off the hook? Why do I not have 35 showings this week? Why? And the wind chill was negative 17.
Yeah.
It's okay, but it's still, that's not how my brain works.
Right. There's snow on the ground.
Yes.
And then I feel like in the spring, it's like a light switch. I mean, you wish that sometimes you would have those moments back when it was really quiet.
Yes.
But then it gets so crazy busy. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to have time to eat today.
Right. Yeah.
So,
like head spinning stuff. And I like those times better.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Give me the chaos.
Yes.
Give me all of the chaos.
Yeah.
I feel a lot better with that happening. So, you got licensed in 98.
98.
Social media wasn't so much a thing.
It wasn't, no.
So that I've mentioned before on here several times, like that is how I was able to grow a business was through social media.
Yes.
Because it was 2014, and that was right when social media was really starting to take over as the main thing. And so I really heavily utilized that. How did you, in the late 90s, how did you get going as far as getting business and getting people to sign on with you? Did you just making phone calls like crazy?
Making phone calls, calling for sell by owners. They couldn't get exposed like they could, today with social media, et cetera. But making phone calls, calling all the for sale by owners, sending them letters, being on call. Of course, when you worked at a real estate company at the time, we would take shifts on who's going to be at the office. And
the floor agent.
Yes, who's going to take those calls. I was happy to volunteer to take those calls.
Do we still do that here? Do we have floor agents?
I don't know if we do or not.
I don't know either.
We used to have a calendar of who's on floor, but I don't know. I haven't seen one of those in a couple years.
I got one client ever. It was the only time I didn't know I was a floor agent. I didn't know. I wasn't here. I'm never here.
Yeah.
Just when I record podcasts now or drop off paperwork. But all of a sudden I got a call from somebody that said, hey, we called your office. They forwarded us over to you. Oh, okay. I guess I was the floor agent today. I don't know, but got a listing out of it.
That's how I started. I just basically was on the floor, and then just was really aggressive with calling for sell by owners. And then, of course, as you get clients and you've worked with clients, you get those referrals.
Right.
So, and then repeat business over time.
And that's the whole formula of our business.
Yes.
Is once you're able to secure those clients when you start, you've got to do a good job.
You do.
And then that sends business back your way. Mm-hmm. Are you from here originally?
I am. Yep.
Okay. You're a Springfield girl.
Springfield girl, raised since forever. I went to Springfield Southeast High School.
Okay. All right. So then you also had a local sphere of influence you can lean on a little bit too.
Yeah. Yep. I certainly did. Of course, being here, but I feel like the older you get, the more people you know, and eventually everybody knows everybody. I feel like in Springfield.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Everybody. Anytime it's like, oh, small world, small town. Yeah. World's big.
World is big. It
small
is.
Town.
It is. Yeah, but somehow everybody's intertwined somehow, some way.
Yes. Okay. So you were at Grady's. You went to Remax.
I did.
And then you landed. Were there any more stops?
Nope. That was it. 2002.
Remax to the group.
2002, I was at Remax, and then in 2013, I left Remax and went over to the real estate group.
Okay.
And that's a funny story.
Tell it. We got time.
So a couple of my girlfriends decided to take a trip to Nashville, and this was October.
I love Nashville.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I'm going to have to make another trip there soon. We decided to make a girls' trip and go to Nashville, and they were other realtors, and we all worked at Remax at the time.
Really?
Yeah. And it was Susie Duff and Kim Elliott and Stephanie Ferguson and myself. And we, at that time, thought, we should talk to the real estate group about potentially going over there because, of course, once again, Remax was the company to work for because of, they advertised their graphs and everything else. That was the place to be. And eventually the real estate group started
at that point, the group had taken over as number one.
Yeah, and said maybe we should consider going over there. And there was a little bit of a shift at Remax too with the owner. I think that he was in Florida quite a bit as well. So I think he took his foot off the pedal a little bit, but good for him because at that age, I would want to.
I can't wait to take my foot off the pedal and hang out in Florida.
Exactly. So, you know what, you go to Nashville and you have a few drinks and you talk about stuff like that. And then you come back and it's business as usual.
We never discussed it. A huge career decision.
We did. And then Kim Elliott ran into Mike Busher at a football game and says, hey, why don't you ever recruit us at Remax? And he says, should I recruit you? So that's how it all came to be. We actually met with Mike. There was a group of us that met with Mike, and he told us about the real estate group and what they had to offer, and we decided to make the leap. So that was in October, and then we probably met with him maybe December, January, something like that, and we made the move in March.
It doesn't take many meetings with Mike.
I know.
To say, okay, that's where I want to be.
Right.
And it took one. I mean, I talked to a few different places around town, but as soon as I talked to Mike, okay, I'm going to the group.
There was a time when I was at Grady's that Mike Busher approached me about coming over to, at that time he was working at Coldwell Banker.
Okay.
And I already made my mind up to go to Remax. And of course, Remax was, like I said, at that time, it was the place to be. So I went ahead and just made the jump over there. But I probably, if I sat down and had lunch or coffee with Mike Busher, he probably would have convinced me to make a different choice. He probably would have
swayed you. I think that's something, and we haven't talked about really the recruiting side of our business on any of the previous episodes. And I never know where these are going to go. So it's more fun that way, I think.
Yeah.
But that is a thing where other brokerages contact you and try to get you to come work there. And it's part of the business.
It is.
I was unprepared for that.
Yeah.
But I always felt my first obligation in life is to my family. Mm-hmm. And so if there's a better way for me to support my family and take care of them, I need to at least know what all of my options are. So early in my career, because thankfully I kind of hit the ground running in real estate, and I've been a solid producer. I mean, I've never anything astronomical where it's like, oh my gosh, look what he's doing. But I do well. I do good enough. But enough to get recruited by, pretty much all of the other companies in town. So I would always take those lunches just to go talk to them and see what's out there. And I remember Mike once, after I went and had lunch with somebody, and at that point I think I had knew pretty well I wasn't going anywhere. That there was no better setup than what I had here. And I learned that. But I never pass a free lunch. If you want to buy me lunch,
let's do it.
I got time.
I would say since I've been here at the Real Estate Group in 2013 for 12 years now, I have not got a phone call. I've never got a phone call. And maybe because
I got one last week.
Yeah, I hear there's a lot of recruiting still going on. I hear it through the grapevine. I hear it from my team. Other companies that are trying to get them to go to lunch.
Right. For one, I said, I got one last week from an assistant. Mm-hmm. Not from the person who really wanted.
Yeah.
And a couple of things. So one, I'm a shareholder. I'm a partner. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here forever.
That's why I wonder why, maybe that's the reason why they don't recruit anymore, because you are a partner. You've invested into the company.
Correct. And two, if you really want me, you got my number.
Yeah. Don't have your assistant call.
Your assistant call me. What are we doing? So
that's not good.
Yeah, no. But I remember, and this is years and years back, where Mike Busher afterwards has said, you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. If somebody invites you to lunch, you can go to lunch. But just know that people talk.
Yeah.
And so if somebody sees, Eric Pettigo was out eating with this person from this other company, like, people are going to start to talk. So just, that's not necessarily a great thing.
Yeah.
And I never really thought of it like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going anywhere, so I'll quit taking these lunches. And people call, hey, would you want to? I'm like, no, I don't.
I'm good.
Nothing personal. I like you. We're fine, but I don't want to waste your time or mine. I'm not going anywhere. There's nothing you can say.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah. So we shut that down. All right. But as far as switching companies goes, I've never done that.
Yeah.
I've been here my whole career.
You know what? The switch over from Remax to the group, everybody was just so generous. Of course, at the time, there were 4 of us that left Remax at the same time. So that made it a little smoother. Of course, your buddies are coming with you, which is really nice. And of course, they had because there were 4 of us and we were pretty good producers. They, the group did a little pizza party and a welcoming party, and maybe if you brought 4 people over at the same time.
I didn't get a pizza party.
It was really nice. They had made us feel at home for sure.
Everybody's.
Yeah.
Everybody I remember being super welcoming.
Yes.
When I started here. And it's intimidating as a new agent. I'm sure even as an experienced agent moving to a new company, it's still a little bit intimidating, right?
It is. It is. Anybody that knows the real estate group, we're in 2 buildings, and we were over in this north building, which is called the Annex building at the time, and it was more like everybody that came over to the real estate or from Remax over there. We all kind of like we're still in our little.
You guys
group.
go sit over there.
Sit over there.
Yeah.
You know what? And honestly, it felt very intimidating working the main building because you think, oh my gosh, you've got the Rick Hanselmans and you've got the the big hitters, and I never consider myself a big hitter,
right.
but it is intimidating. It's like I'm just going to stay over here in my little corner and work in the Annex building.
That's funny that you say that, because you felt that coming in, already being an agent and established. When I came here brand new, I remember Pat Sellinger was walking me around, introducing me to everybody, and it was so I see these people on billboards and I see their average, and to me they're like not real people,
right?
Because I'd never actually interacted in person. I had no idea how real estate worked. It was so big and overwhelming to meet all these people for the first time, and I remember actually, I think one time we went to lunch. Like I was maybe a few weeks in the business. And you probably don't remember because you were there. And I think Randy was there and a few other agents and Pat and me. And, everybody's just sitting around talking, being coworkers and talking real estate. And I was just like I can't wait until I learn what this stuff means. I don't know what. But it was,
Funny story about Pat. So when we were at Remax, Pat worked at Remax, and he was the guy that we had to tell that we were leaving Remax.
Oh.
We all walked into his office, and there were 4 of us at the time, and he says, "Uh-oh." He didn't enjoy that.
But it wasn't long after, though.
It wasn't long after that he came over to the real estate group as well, which we were so excited for.
Because that was right at the beginning of 2014, which is when I started. I'd met with Mike at the end of 2013. And he's like, I'm like, okay, I want to come here.
Yeah.
He said, let's start you. It's December. You're not selling anything as a brand new agent. Let's just start you at the beginning of next month. And we've got a guy coming over to work with new agents who I think you'll get along with really well.
Yes.
So Pat and I literally started at the same time. Pat's been like a central character on this podcast. He gets talked about all the time.
Hopefully he listens to these podcasts.
I told him about it a few times, and everybody loves him, and he's agreed to come on at some point, but he's so busy, and he's out of town all the time now.
Yeah.
But God, what a great guy.
He is a great guy. He really is.
I probably wouldn't still be doing this. Mm-hmm. I would have been one of those that didn't make it out of the first couple of years if I didn't have Pat. So I owe him a lot.
He's got a big heart.
Oh, yeah, one of the best. But so that wasn't long where Pat came over. But I can't imagine having to go break up with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was hard because we loved Pat.
Yes.
We really did. So that was very difficult. But you're right. I mean, we came over March 1st of 2013, and he was there within a year of us leaving Remax, and we were super happy that he was. So
then let's talk about, you land here in 2013. Mm-hmm. When does the Winchester team become a thing?
So 2013, I literally did not have a team at all. I mean, it was just me.
Just you?
It was just me, correct. And then, of course, my friends, but we were all independent contractors. We didn't work on a team together. So the first person that came on the team was Adam. So,
whoa, really?
Yeah.
Adam was your first team member?
He was, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know
and
that.
I met Adam through Randy Aldridge at the time. Randy sold Adam a house, and Adam at the time lost his job as a union negotiator, and he thought I wanted to get into real estate. So he came on and just did some admin work, learned the business, got his license. And he had to make a decision. Like, of course, he had a relationship with Randy. He had a relationship with me because we were doing the training.
Right.
And then ultimately he chose to work with me. I was, of course, busy at the time. I had no team members. And I would give Adam he was hungry for leads. So I'm like, here you go.
Still is.
Here you go. He still is. He's like, here you go. So I was grateful for him because, you could work yourself ragged doing this job
Yes.
and not having somebody to help you. And thankfully he was, if I got a phone call about one of my listings, I said, here you go, Adam, take it. And, he's a very personable guy. So it didn't take him long to take off. So
No, it did not. No, he hit the ground running
Yeah.
for sure, and he has not stopped.
And I'm trying to remember what year that was. I want to say, I think it was, I came over in 2013. I want to say maybe 2016 is when Adam joined. Sorry, Adam, I should know
I'm
this.
trying to remember because we talked about this.
Yeah.
I think it was the same year I started. I think it was 14, but later in the year.
Okay.
I think it was either later 14 or early 15. It's something,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. We
Okay.
came in really, really close.
close.
A lot of us came in right at that time.
Yeah.
I started at the same time as Adam and as Ashley Coker, and there's a few more, and I'm forgetting, and I'm sorry, but a lot of us that 2014 draft class is pretty solid.
There you go. Absolutely. There's a good one.
It's a pretty solid draft class. Okay, so Adam was your friend, and then it was like, okay.
Yeah, and we had an admin person, so that was helpful to do a lot of the transactions as far as ordering title work, inspections,
Yeah.
closings, all that other good stuff. And then we gradually had other people join the team. The one thing I can say, I never really sought after to have a team. It's interesting because the people have approached us about being on the team, whether they're a new agent or if they're already in the business and looking for that team concept, which is really nice. After Adam, we actually had a agent join the team. She was a new agent, Sonia Tankersley.
I remember Sonia. I did. And she started at the same time I did too.
Okay.
Same year. Yeah, Sonia. Yeah,
Yep.
I believe.
And she was great. She actually ended up moving to Colorado.
Yes,
so,
she did.
Yep. So she took off. So
I think we're still Facebook friends. I
Yeah.
believe, unless she deleted. I don't say anything controversial, so
that's what we typically see on Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
So,
but I did a few deals with Sonia.
Yes, yeah. She
Back
was-
in our early years. Yeah.
She was great. And then shortly thereafter, Teresa Martin joined the
Yeah.
team. And then a few months later, Wendy joined the team. And then, and Nancy. Actually, Nancy joined before Teresa.
Okay.
So, and she was not in real estate at all. And she's a little go-getter. She was in sales beforehand as well. So she took off and she's been great. And she's been with us now for about 6-ish years.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then Teresa reached out. I sat down and had coffee with her, and then Wendy, and then Wendy's cousin is married to Heather Camille, so
Okay.
they're related. So
Jeez.
Heather joined us, and then gradually, just more and more people approached us.
I was going to say I noticed, and I'm not going to quiz you.
Yeah.
To name every single one, but on my way in, it was the Winchester team picture happened to be up on our
Oh, yeah.
LED sign out front.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a big team.
That's not
for somebody who didn't aspire to
we
have
didn't
a team.
inspire to have a team. It just worked out that way. It really did.
Well, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Then. If people are approaching you wanting to be a
Yeah.
part of what it is that you're doing,
Yeah.
then you got to be doing something
We got to be
right.
doing it right. We now have 14 altogether. We have 12 licensed agents. That includes myself, of course. And then we have 2 admin people.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
That's quite a production. So
It is.
You're all of you pile into one office. How does this work?
We do. We have a space over at the Annex building, and we're going to be moving spaces. We're going to stay in the Annex building. We're just moving down a little bit because they're going to rent some of that space here soon.
But you guys are staying over there.
We are staying over there, so
Okay.
they're basically renting half that space. So the Winchester team and the Yates team, and then the Deb Sarsany team is
Sure.
going to stay over there. So there's just not enough space in the main building for everybody.
No.
They try to make it work, but there's just not enough
No, it'd be too
space.
cramped to-
It would.
to
I
have
mean,
all
it
you
would
guys.
literally be where some people wouldn't have offices, including Mike Busher, which yeah,
Mike needs an office.
He needs an office. He has a lot of confidential
Yeah.
conversations that he needs an office.
So I remember a few years ago around Christmas time running into you guys at Meijer
Yeah.
with Adam dressed as an elf.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there shopping. I'm there every day.
Did he give you money?
Yeah, right. Nothing. I'm not. This is being recorded. No, nobody gave me any money. But you guys do. You guys do a lot of cool stuff like that,
We
right?
do.
Like-
We do. We've actually done that for. We haven't done it in the last couple of years, but we used to for I would say about 5 or 6 years straight, we would give back to the community.
Yes.
So we would donate money to, as a team, we would pick our charities. So we would donate to charities and drop by and
That's
give
so
them
cool.
checks. And then we would always go the day after Thanksgiving, and we would dress up in Christmas gear, and we would go to different stores and just show random acts of kindness by giving them money while they were shopping. So, and we would visit maybe five or six stores on that, and it was rewarding. We didn't ask for anything. We just wanted to bless those people for that day, and they were just so grateful. And then, which is great. People were super excited and whatnot.
I saw some of the videos. It was so cool.
It was
you could
cool.
tell people were like, it almost like, I don't know, like took their breath away. They couldn't even, my gosh, really? You know, and I was, that's such a cool thing to do.
It was. We had so much fun doing that. I don't know if we'll get back to that or not, but we enjoyed that. We still give to charities, but we haven't done the others. You know, we enjoyed that, but I tell you, sometimes social media can be a mean thing. So
I didn't know if you wanted to bring that part up, because I saw too, because it is social media, and there's no way to do anything without getting a negative backlash.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of that.
There was. I mean, this community, we wouldn't be where we are today without this community and the support. And we just wanted to give back randomly, just random acts of kindness. But, of course, social media some people on social media wasn't as kind to us, saying, why did you go to Schnucks? People that can afford groceries at Schnucks should not be getting these random acts of kindness.
I mean, how can you find...
Yeah.
How can you find flaws in people just being generous and nice? But it's social media nowadays.
It's social media. people are keyboard warriors.
It's crazy.
So it is crazy. So we stepped back from it for a moment, but we've obviously got servant hearts, and we contribute, but we haven't done it. That part of it.
I think what everybody has to keep in mind is that's such a vocal minority of people.
Yeah.
And it's like a restaurant with a bad review. Mm-hmm. If you'll go and eat 1,000 times and it'll be just fine and you'll like it and you'll never say a word. You won't go online and give it 5 stars and say, hey, this was great. But the one time there's a hair in your soup.
Yeah.
It's 1 star. This is the worst place ever.
Right.
So it's that vocal minority that makes it seem like everybody out there is horrible.
Exactly.
And it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
No, for the most part, it was good. But you just get it, and then the comments go on for 500, 600 comments after a period of time. It's like, okay.
Well, there is the old adage that no publicity is bad publicity, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
People talking about you or people talking about you.
Yeah.
But that's probably another part of this business that I wasn't prepared for, but luckily I can handle is the thick skin part.
Yep.
Because we put ourselves out there.
We do.
So we make ourselves public figures almost, and we have to. That's how we have to do this job, and it doesn't come without the negative out there, and the people that are going to say bad things about you, and the people that are going to write a bad review.
Right.
On behalf of somebody that they know that they perceived you did something wrong. And like I had to turn off on Facebook reviews for my business page.
Really?
Because of like 2 people that were totally misinformed.
Yeah.
And just going crazy on my, and it's like,
that's hard.
Yeah, so I'm just going to shut it off.
Yeah. I didn't know you can shut it off. That's good to know.
Yeah, you can shut it off.
I had a bad review, and it was actually somebody that was a renter of mine who was not making their payments and put bad reviews everywhere she could because, of course, unfortunately, I had to evict her.
Right.
Because I still had a mortgage on the property. I was still paying for it, but of
And you
course,
didn't let her live there for free?
No, I couldn't live.
You deserve that.
Didn't, right? Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
And anybody is free to go out there and just say anything online.
Yep, exactly.
And we get a lot of that.
We do. Thankfully, I think probably as well as you do, we get more good reviews than bad.
Yes.
So, and it's rare that we get a bad one, but take it with a grain of salt sometimes. If you look at all the other 99 reviews that we have, and then there's this one bad one. So it says something.
Yeah, you're right. Anyhow, part of it. So
yes.
let's see. Where can we go now? How's Todd?
He's great. He's great. He's good. I'll have to make sure he listens to this.
Yeah. Well, one of the I wanted to touch on. So you are married to Todd Weir.
I am married to Todd Weir.
I don't mean to put your personal business out there,
okay.
but
I don't mind.
You don't
Everybody
mind.
knows.
Yeah. And Todd is a lender IMB.
He is.
Right? And
Yeah.
does a great job.
He
One
does.
of my favorites.
Yes. Yes.
So for you as a realtor, now you're married
Right.
to a lender. I mean,
Yeah.
do you guys talk about other stuff?
We do. We do. Our story's interesting. Of course, I've known Todd for a long time.
Sure.
Not on a personal level and a business level, just having transactions with him or clients that are working with him. And it's funny, I got a divorce early 2020, and then our team always does fun outings, and we just happened to go to a baseball game in 2021, and we had 16 tickets. And
Okay.
of course, the whole team was going, but we don't have a team of 16. We're like, oh, go ahead and invite, your favorite lenders or whatnot. And so we did. Well, I didn't personally, but Wade invited Todd Weir to our baseball event, and he almost didn't go because Wade invited him that morning, and we were leaving by 9:30 that day. But he did go, thankfully.
Wow.
And there were a few other lenders that were there as well. So we had a great time. But it's funny because of course, I'm social, and I talk to everybody. It's like, hey, how's it going, whatnot. And, of course, I had asked him how things were going because I knew he was dating somebody. How's that going? Small talk. And he's like, oh, we broke up. And he's like, oh, my gosh.
Darn it.
What happened? And he says, let's do lunch sometime. I was like, great. That was April. And then, of course, we didn't actually have a date until June. I was newly divorced. I would say I was divorced for about a year when that happened, and I just was not looking for a serious relationship.
Sure.
I just wanted to. This is totally off subject.
Yeah,
with
I
respect
didn't know.
to real
You can get it as far into this as you want.
So anyway, we went on our first date in June of 2021, and here we are. We're married now. Long story short.
So how did you break it to your favorite lender?
The funny thing about INB, Todd was not my go-to person at INB. It was Natalie who was my go-to person.
Yes, at INB.
Yeah, she was great. I always used Natalie, and not that I didn't have transactions with Todd. People sometimes when they get together, they've already been pre-approved or whatnot, and then Brad Dyer was another favorite of mine. Of course, now he works at INB, but he doesn't do mortgage loans anymore. And then Greg Talley at the time, Marine Bank.
Yeah.
Those were my three go-to people, which I love them. And of course, Greg Talley is now working for the city, working for Mayor Busher. So anyway, so Natalie was my go-to until, of course, the relationship with Todd.
I mean, I'm sure you had to be like, listen, Natalie, you're doing a great job. But
I still, there's still some great relationships that I have with other lenders as well that we work together really well with. So anyway,
that's such an interesting part because what they try to establish relationships with us, which is great. Mm-hmm. I love having good lenders at my disposal to send my clients to. I know we're going to take good care of them. But nowadays, and what I have to keep telling, because a lot of, they're always, hey, let's go grab lunch. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go grab lunch. Let's talk about stuff. I find nowadays that so many more buyers are I guess they're so much better educated, mm-hmm. and they come to me with a pre-approval.
Yes.
They're ready. By the time they get to me, they're like, okay, I've already got my pre-approval.
Yes.
And, and I have to tell my lender friends, they're like, well, you haven't sent me anybody in a while. It's like, I can't, they've already got this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, hey, ditch them, go with, unless it's one of these Now,
Right.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
One of those companies.
Yes.
Where I'm like, yeah, you might have an approval, but do you?
Right, exactly. And I always stress the fact that, of course, if in fact a buyer is pre-approved with a company that nobody has heard of, especially in these multiple offer situations, that might hurt us. That you're working with a
Yes.
company that nobody's heard, we don't know, they don't have a reputation in our market. Where if you send them to Todd Weir or Casey Vandermersch at
I'm
Carrollton
glad
Bank,
you said his name first. That would have been bad.
yes. Garrett Dooley, also
Yeah.
a great lender as well. So, you recognize those names in our particular market, or you get a buyer that says, I've been approved with, I'll say it, Zillow Home Loans.
Ooh.
Yeah. Good luck for me. You're making my job harder.
Yes.
Let me help you by going with a local lender, because you have a better chance on the other end when we submit your offer that you're working with somebody local. They have a reputation that they want to uphold to in our market. So do that.
Have you ever had and this happens, and it's because sometimes we deal with people that don't know us. Mm-hmm. And it's our very first impression, and that's a tough conversation to have.
Yeah.
That first meeting with somebody. It's like, oh, okay, great. So you're pre-approved, who with? And they'll say blah blah blah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I go, okay. How would you feel about me putting you in touch with somebody like local that I know will do a good job for us? And I explain the whole thing and multiple offers.
Yes.
And this is going to strengthen our offer by having somebody who's trusted, that we know it's going to be a smooth.
Right.
And they go, no, I think we'll just keep this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Maybe they have to lose a deal or two before they realize that, maybe I should have taken your advice.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
it's important to have somebody local, somebody who's established, somebody who has a good record of getting things to close. There are companies, when I have, when I'm representing a seller and we have these multiple offers and I see a pre-approval letter from this company, I'm like, I know more than likely that deal is going to be delayed or not going to close at all. So,
Yes.
and I'll tell my sellers that when I'm looking at all these offers, what the strengths and weaknesses of each of the offers are. And that will include that pre-approval letter as well.
And you have to, because with an offer, I think what a lot of people fail to understand who aren't in the business is that it's not just the dollar amount.
Right.
There are so many other factors in place, type of financing,
Yes.
who the lender is. Are you asking for closing cost credits? Are you, are you wanting to do all the inspections? And some people say, well, I outbid them by this much.
Yeah.
That doesn't always matter.
It doesn't always matter. You have to look at the whole package.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yep,
And and who your lender is a big part of that.
it is.
So-
Indeed.
Let's and Todd, you're welcome for that. we gave him like a 10-minute commercial. Todd's great. Call Todd.
Yes.
And we'll send you an invoice. But
Buy you lunch.
how are you? What tools are you and your team utilizing now to kind of stay relevant, stay on? Everything is evolving and changing in
It
real
is.
estate, and
Yeah.
how you stay kind of out there and public and recognizable to people.
Right.
So what are you guys doing now? I mean, I imagine you guys have some serious brainstorming sessions.
We
you got
do.
you got some type A's in that room.
We do. We do. But I tell you what, our team, I swear, we all get along. I mean, every once in a while there's going to be an issue or whatever, but for the most part, we're like a family
Sure.
within our team, and everybody makes a decision. I mean, it's kind of like being a partner at the real estate group, where our team, we're all partners. We all make these decisions. We all talk about the things that, what do we want to do as a team? Where do we want to put our money towards, etc. So, of course, we are big on social media. We're starting to do, with Kayla's help, we're starting to do some reels, which I think is becoming more popular with listings, etc., or even testimonials that are reels. Kayla Stockus.
Kayla Stockus.
Yes, who's on the team.
She is super comfortable making
She is.
these social media
She
clips.
is great at it.
Yeah,
She's great at
Kayla's
it. And
awesome.
of course, I'm old and I have no clue how to do those. So, but anyway, she's great. She's really good at it, and we're starting to implement some of those in some of our listings, etc. But we're big on social media, of course, on Instagram, Facebook. You know, the typical. In order for anybody to see anything on Facebook, you know, you have to boost the listings and
Yes.
promote it that way. But of course, because we have such a mixed breed of people on our team, we have some type A's, we have some experienced agents, we have some new agents, we meet weekly for training, etc. But we also are big on Zillow, and we're one of those teams that we actually do pay for Zillow, but it's to help get some leads to some of the agents that are fairly new or
Yes.
to looking to generate their business.
And even if the majority of those leads don't go anywhere, I mean, it's you cast a wide net and you
Yes.
hopefully catch one thing.
Yep.
But it's so invaluable to get that experience of talking to people.
Yes.
And being comfortable talking to people and being able to hear a no and,
Right.
and move on and not let it totally defeat you. And I think
Exactly.
for a newer agent, that's really, really important to be able to, like I went, like you said, when you started, you talked to a bunch for sale by owners.
Yeah.
Like I social media, nice sphere of influence and all that, but I'm also impatient. Mm-hmm. So I drove around and just knocked on for sale by owner doors.
Yeah.
I got 0 listings that way.
I never knocked on a door.
Really?
No, I would
Just
call
called
them.
them?
I would just call them.
I
That was
knocked on
before
the
the
door.
do not disturb or
Yeah.
do not call
No
registry.
soliciting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there,
yeah. Where
Yeah.
you can just pick up the phone and give them a call and send them letters. And
Does that qualify though? A for sale by owner
I
that
don't know. I mean, at that time
puts
when
their
I was-
number out
yeah,
there?
Yeah, I don't do that anymore
Right.
so much anymore. But today, I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know. I don't do it
Yeah.
either. I mean, I've got one of my best friend's dads has been trying to sell his house for sale by owner forever, and so I don't mind bothering him.
Yeah.
because I know that guy real good.
Right.
Yesterday, what I did, I want to tell you this because it's funny. On my phone, I've got I can make a sticker out of a picture. I can just crop out like one thing, and so I went back and found one of my sold signs, that I had in somebody's yard, and I turned it into a sticker on my phone, and then I went to his Zillow listing and downloaded the picture of the front of his house, and I superimposed my sold sign on the front of it, and I texted it over to him. So that looks pretty good, doesn't it? Yeah. He's like, that does look pretty good. I'm going to get him.
You should get him. Absolutely. And then he'll probably put his home on the market with you and it'll sell in a couple days.
Yes, which is what I've been trying to tell him this whole time.
You can expose his home much more than a for sale by owner sign in the yard.
There is a big difference between selling your house and waiting for somebody to buy your house. Mm-hmm. And I hammer that point home all the time. I'm going to make a TikTok video about it later today, I think, is my
Yeah.
plan. Try to be a little more active on do you TikTok?
I don't TikTok. I like to look at TikTok and I like to watch it, but I don't TikTok.
But you don't make them.
I don't make them.
Kayla
I think
does.
I may have made one or two in the past during COVID. Don't look at those.
You shouldn't have said that. Now
I think
I'm
when
definitely going
COVID just
to.
recently started, and of course, there were some videos that I tried to copy. Like, yeah, they're not good.
TikTok's tricky. Like, it's, for me, I'm very long-winded. Mm-hmm. And you got to be,
Yeah,
try to keep it under a minute.
Yeah.
How do you keep it under a minute? How can I say something about real estate that is like,
you'll have to do like part 1 and part 2, part
you
3.
do.
Yeah,
You do have to do that. And that's what my oldest son told me. He's like, you're too long.
yeah.
I was like, I got a lot to say.
Yeah.
He's like, well, make it in like 60-second clips. And I'm like, I want like a 6-part TikTok video.
Right.
But
People will do it.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of followers on TikTok?
I don't think so. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was really, last year I started making TikToks for the first time last year. And I don't know, let me see here. But, oh, my volume's up. It's a good thing that wasn't a bad one.
Have you sold any homes?
I've got
from-
317
Oh,
followers.
that's a lot.
I should be better.
Yeah. So do you find that you've got any business from TikTok?
No.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
one
Okay.
that I know of.
Yeah.
I don't think nobody has ever said, hey, I saw you on TikTok. I want you to be
Yeah.
my realtor.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I'm approaching it as like the presence of mind strategy. It's like I asked Josh Cruz when he came on.
Yeah.
How many calls have you got because of that giant billboard driving into Chatham? Mm-hmm. He's like, I can count them on one hand.
Really?
And
It's about branding.
exactly, exactly. It's these things don't necessarily directly lead to somebody you don't know
Right.
dialing you up, but the more that the more
recognize your
recognized.
name.
Exactly. Now, I did have when I started early in my career, Facebook wasn't so saturated with realtors
Right.
like it is now.
Yes.
It's so hard to stand out on Facebook now because every realtor is on there. Everybody's throwing their listings on there,
Right.
boosting them. You have to do it,
You do.
but you don't stand out.
Right.
You fit in. That's what everybody does. So, but back then they weren't.
Right.
And so I was doing it. Anytime I had a listing, I would make an album on my business page and put it out there, and I'd boost it, and it'd be all over. And I was checking in at closings with people and taking pictures, and people weren't doing that.
Right.
And I got a lot of clients because of that.
Yeah.
People who were like, "Hey, I saw what you do on Facebook, and I like it. I want you to be my realtor." People I didn't know.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen anymore, though.
It doesn't. No. We of course, we promote our listings on Facebook and,
Sure.
and Instagram, etc. So I would say we may not sell a house from Facebook, but we do get some leads because of Facebook, whether it's a buyer lead or
Yes.
somebody like you that says, I love your marketing. I'd like for you to list the house. So,
Yeah.
But name branding's super important. And so it's funny, you go out and it's like, oh, Eric Pedigo, I recognize your name, or Jamie Winchester,
Yeah.
I recognize your name. I've heard your name before. I've seen your name on signs.
Yes.
Or a moving truck.
Yeah, and that's you have to be doing that stuff, and it's I wonder, there are people who spend so much money on advertising
Yeah.
and promoting themselves, and I'm just like, that's so much overhead. Is
Yeah.
there a return on that investment?
Right.
I don't know,
Right.
but it's so hard for me to spend a lot of money on
Yes.
anything like that because I get referrals and repeat
Yeah.
business, and it's good.
Certain times I'm amazed by agents, when you take a listing, getting professional pictures and
Yes.
floor plans, et cetera, that we do, sellers are spending quite a bit of money for you to market their property. So you want to do it correctly. But I'm still amazed every once in a while to see a listing that's, several $100,000 of somebody that's taking pictures with their phone.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that the sellers don't get upset by that when they see other listings that are marketed a little bit better.
I agree.
Than taking pictures with your phone.
We
could do better.
I'm trying to think. Was it Shelley? I think maybe was it Shelley? I've done too many of these
Yeah.
now, but we kind of covered this ground a little bit where, my wife was looking at what I spend on professional pictures and floor plans and virtual tours. And this was at the time when, all you had to do was stick a sign in the ground.
Right.
And people would just make an offer without even seeing the house because the market was so crazy.
Yeah.
And she's like, you take good enough pictures. Like, do you really need? And it was like, yeah, okay, no. Honestly, no. At that time, we did not need
Yeah.
professional pictures. We did not need floor plans. We did not need virtual tours. There was such a shortage of houses and
Yeah.
so many buyers that we could have gone in and just done a sketch drawing of the living room and put it online, and it would have sold.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it was. But as an agent, to get more listings, people have to see that
Yeah.
that this is what it will look like if I let you list my house.
Right.
It's going to look like this, a pretty package, pretty pictures.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
that's why you have to do it.
You have to do that. Yeah, we'll do every once in a while. We'll do a coming soon.
Yes.
Because we're waiting on pictures or waiting on a pre-inspection. But I don't like for it to be live without professional pictures. I mean, we did one recently that just hit the market today. We were just basically waiting for professional pictures.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. I think.
I won't go live until, I will
Yeah.
fight with everything I have. When people say, well, can't we just list it and then
Yeah.
get the stuff and then we'll patch these holes and then and I say, no,
Yeah.
no, we have to have a finished product.
Yes.
Because the first few days, it used to be that first week, but now it's those first few days are so crucial.
Yeah.
That's when the most people are going to see it and be interested in it. And so you want it to be its most presentable.
Absolutely. No, and you'll have some sellers that will also say, you know what? Why should I replace that carpet? Because it may not be the carpet that the next person likes, but it makes a better first impression, of course, when you're going in there.
Yes.
So,
well, they'll paint it whatever they want anyway.
Yeah.
They'll put whatever flooring they want anyway. Okay. Maybe some.
Yeah.
But what you're doing when you do that is you are eliminating such a big buyer pool
Right.
of people who don't want to mess with that.
exactly.
And then, so now you have to either, come in at a lower price or offer an allowance,
Yeah.
which we all hate.
Right.
And then people are still going to come in and beat you up on the price anyway.
Exactly.
So you might as well
Yeah.
just make it presentable. Like the TikTok I put out yesterday was about how real estate transactions take time. Like a lot of people think, I'll wait until it gets a little bit nicer and then I'll call my agent and then we'll make a plan. Well, a lot of times you're not ready to list. You'll call us and you're not ready to list for another few weeks because once we go meet with you, then we make a plan on how to get your house to look as best as possible, to sell it for as much as possible.
Exactly.
And so it's not an instantaneous thing.
No. And I feel like that we're going on a lot of those appointments right now,
Yes.
just telling them what they need to do to get their house ready for the market.
Yeah.
So,
It's very rarely from the time you reach out to us are we done a month later.
right.
Usually we don't even get started until a month later
Yeah.
for actually trying to, so I think people, and what I'm trying to educate people on is these things take time. So let's not wait. I know it's, you're looking outside and now it's nice, but the last few weeks
Right.
it's snowy and cold.
Exactly.
But that's the time to start getting the wheels in motion.
Yep.
And getting things going so that you're ready. And when all the buyers come out and you're ready
Yeah.
and you're not chasing the market, you're ahead of the market.
You are, indeed. And, you might find that a seller's like, you know what, I've been wanting to do this. I just haven't had time. But, if you lean on us as realtors, we have connections. We can tell you, we can send you a plumber or an electrician or a handyman to take down that wallpaper or whatever you need to get the ball rolling so you can get on the market before, next winter.
Right. I compare it to a car lot. It's not the same as going and saying,
Right.
yeah, I'll take the blue one and then you're out same day. This is a process.
Yes.
You got to give yourself time. And then people say, well, we'll be ready in a few months, so I'll call you when we're ready. And I say, just our house isn't ready for you to see it.
Yeah.
So I'm not buying it. I can help you get it ready
Yes.
though. So let me come now
Right.
and look.
Right.
And I can help you make a plan so you're not spending weeks and weeks working on stuff you shouldn't be and you're focusing on the right things.
Exactly. That's so important. I
Right?
just went on a listing appointment over the weekend and they were focusing on things that they didn't necessarily need to. But I did tell them a few things that they did need to do to get ready for the market. But other things, it's like, don't worry about that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Don't.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Do you think I should change the handle on my fridge? No,
No,
I don't.
Don't worry about
I think
it.
that's silly.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. It's good. We still have a low inventory. Let's get your house on the market.
I think this burnt orange wall that you have, you should worry about.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's
Get that
let's
painted.
address that.
Exactly.
So yeah, and that's one of the things that we provide is that guidance before you go to list
Right.
and before you go to buy. People are, well, I'm planning on buying, but not until later this year. That doesn't mean we shouldn't meet right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's I'm always-
Buyers right now are a bit challenging because in years past they had time to think about these homes.
Yes.
They had time to sleep on it and everything else. But today, when you look at a house, you need to make a decision actually fairly quickly
Yes.
because of this market. We still have the low inventory.
And that's so great. I had a client once tell me, and he summed it up in a way that I had never really considered how insane it is, the whole home buying process. He said, if I go test drive a car, I can drive that thing around for 3 or 4 hours. Mm-hmm. That's a car. It's good expense, sure. But for me to buy a house
Yeah.
at 30 minutes,
Yep. Your biggest financial
Yeah.
decision you're making.
30 minutes to an hour, and then I have to decide if I want to attach myself to this for 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
You should be able to spend a weekend there.
Move in with the sellers.
Just like Airbnb it for a weekend.
Right.
And just,
Experience it.
take it for a test drive.
Have you ever had a client that got cold feet after they got the house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Have they ever terminated the contract because of it?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, and this is something that I've learned to really drive home on the front end, is that we don't have a change your mind policy. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are under the impression that, well, they can just keep my earnest money.
Yeah.
If they allow you to walk in lieu of your earnest money,
Right.
But that's not how our contracts work.
No.
That's a breach. If you're just like, no, I don't want it anymore, without one of our built-in contingencies that have been agreed upon, then you are breaching that contract, and they can come after you legally.
Yep. And I've had that happen with some clients. They
I'm sure
actually
we all
have
have.
pursued it legally.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy.
I've been on the other end of that. Mm-hmm. I've been with the sellers where we have pursued it legally.
Yeah.
And
I've actually even had a buyer sue a seller because the seller was selling their house, and because he thought that he was getting this job and he did not get the job. So he didn't want to sell his house any longer.
Oh.
But my buyer actually pursued it legally and won.
that's an interesting side of it, because we always look at the other side, a buyer wanting to back out.
Right.
But you very rarely hear about sellers
Yeah.
wanting to back out. If you want to sell your house, you want to sell your house.
Right.
But that's a thing.
It's a thing. They pursued it, and the buyers actually won. So
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
And it is built into our contract that technically those sellers still owe a commission.
Yeah, exactly.
That's written right in there.
I still got paid.
Good. Well, it closed. It sounds
It closed. Yes,
Wow.
indeed.
But
Yeah.
even if it wouldn't have, according to the
Right.
contract, you would still be owed a
Yes,
commission for
that's
that.
true.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I've never had a seller
Yeah.
not wait. Yes, I have. Thankfully, though, they didn't sign the contract.
Oh, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
They cold feet on selling, and it was weird. That was a weird one. But
The hardest ones are when you accept a contract and you're just waiting on signatures, and then another contract comes in. That's hard.
yeah,
That's happened a few times.
I try to get signatures so quick. I mean,
And we have to do our due diligence. We have to present all offers,
Yes.
all the way up to closing, actually. But even when the house is under contract, you still, if an offer comes in, you still have to present that, of course, as a potential
Always.
backup. But until the contract is signed, the sellers can simply change their mind
Yeah.
and go with the other offer, which is a hard pill
yes.
to share that with another agent that you've already said you got the house.
Yeah, I mean, I push to get signatures quick.
Yeah.
Everybody, you have to, because
Right. Mm-hmm.
especially in this market when offers can just be coming in
Yes.
out of the blue. You know, you might not even get feedback from a showing,
Yeah.
so you just assume that they're not interested. You're
Exactly.
negotiating another one, and all of a sudden, hey, I just sent you an offer.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I always
Awesome.
wonder why these random, every once in a while I'll just get an offer in my email with no call from the agent, no text, nothing. And it's like, I just got an offer from an agent and no communication
See, that's-
whatsoever. It's just bizarre. I'm constantly reaching out to them saying, hey, what's the interest level? Is there a deadline?
Yeah.
I'm sending you an offer. Then I'll send them a message saying, there's your offer. I just sent it via email. Just communicate. So,
Communicate. You said
yeah.
it.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yeah.
We all have to be better
We have
at
to
communicating.
Be better.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's turned into an impersonal business, unfortunately, with modern
Mm-hmm.
technology. But we have to do a better job of communicating with each other, with our clients,
Yes.
all of that.
Absolutely.
You have done a great job of communicating here today. We are an hour and 8 minutes in. Jamie, you did awesome.
We did.
Are you okay if we wrap this up?
We
or
can
what?
wrap it up.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm going to Yummy Bowl.
Okay. Oh, yum.
Yeah, I know. I love that place. So you know about Yummy Bowl?
I know about Yummy Bowl. The best person to go to Yummy Bowl is Nancy H. She has figured out a way to stack her bowl where she can pile it up like a, oh my gosh. She knows how to get her money's worth.
I would take that challenge. I'll tell you what I do, because I've got that down too. So I make a bowl within a bowl. Right. So I get the obviously the noodles, and then all the vegetables. But then I take that and I make a bowl with that within my bowl.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you can pile so much meat in there.
Yeah. She kind of does something with the carrots, like around, so the bowl's larger. She can.
She makes right. Oh yeah,
It works.
That's the move. What's your oil choice there? Your sauce choice?
It's TSO? I think
General Tso's.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I like that one.
Okay, do that.
Uh-huh.
One cup of that, and then the sauce that's right above it, which is the Thai chili sauce.
Okay.
Mix those two.
Good stuff.
Will
Yum.
change your life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I'm getting ready to have that now. All right, Jamie Winchester, thank you so much
You're welcome,
for coming
Eric.
on. This
No
was a lot of
problem.
fun. I'm
Yeah.
glad we finally got to do it.
Absolutely.
And you did a great job. I'll try to have this up later today.
All right. Perfect.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you.
Is that the right button? It is. All right, see you later.